Hey everybody, it's Fitz from my home office with a daily delivery from GoPowercat's.com. And here we go. We're going to try this again. We had to throw one of these out as things are happening very quickly as football season nears. Well, a couple big scheduling things in motion right now for Kansas State fans. K-State has two non-conference opponents still on its schedule. They'll have to decide which one to play, and maybe that decision will be made for them, and maybe both teams will be out. We will see how that develops. Buffalo and North Dakota are those two teams, and let's take Buffalo first, which is a member of the Mid-America Conference. The Mid-American Conference, the MAC, is trying to decide what it wants to do with its football season. It is the last football bowl subdivision conference not to have made a decision so far on what it's going to do. It's delayed that decision to the weekend. There's some thought they will go to 8 conference games and 2 non-conference games, which sounds good for Kansas State. There's also some thought that they might just move to the spring and be the only FBS conference to play spring football, which is rather intriguing if you ask me. And there's some thinking that the MAC just may not play a season, which could kind of spell the end of a lot of MAC football programs that are probably losing money. So we'll see how that develops. If the MAC does decide to play in the fall, can it play Kansas State? Well, New York State has some pretty strict guidelines on travel to Kansas, and if you return, you have to go into a 2-week quarantine, which wouldn't be ideal for the Buffalo players. We'll see if there's a waiver given or if that restriction to Kansas is lifted. Now on to North Dakota and the Missouri Valley and the chaos of the football championship subdivision, of which North Dakota State is 3-year reigning king. Well, now the Pioneer and Big Sky conferences have announced that they are moving to the spring. The Big Sky was an enormous piece of the puzzle. Now that they have moved to the spring, the playoffs move with them. And as much as the Missouri Valley wanted to play in the fall, the Missouri Valley has a number of games scheduled against Power 5 opponents and some in the Big 12, including North Dakota, a new member, and Kansas State. Now that the spring is catching the playoffs, look for the Valley to move to the spring also. Our Ross Uglum also runs the North Dakota State site for 24/7 Sports, and he believes that the Valley is going to attempt to play some non-conference games in the fall and a full conference schedule in the spring to make them eligible for the playoffs. I'm not sure what the NCAA will say about a conference attempting to play both in the fall and spring. It seems like that could get nixed pretty quickly. If the Valley moves to the spring and they can't play non-conference games in the fall and Buffalo can't come in, K-State has no non-conference opponent and will have to go shopping for one. One that jumped out at us as we looked around the landscape of college football that has a September 12th opening, which we believe is when Kansas State would like to play its non-conference game, is Wyoming. And this is just conjecture, but Gene Taylor knows the folks at Wyoming. Craig Bohl used to work for him at North Dakota State. And of course, Craig Bohl was Chris Kleiman's boss. Very intriguing possibility. But there are opponents available out there who have also lost non-conference games that K-State could sign up and bring into Bill Snyder Family Stadium for that weekend. When news happens, we will send it out via our newsletter. If you're not subscribing to the newsletter, head over to GoPowercat. There's a little form right there on the front. Put in your email address. There's no obligation with that newsletter. Just sign up. It's free. When news happens, it comes right to your email inbox, and you'll know the first among your K-State friends. In other K-State news, ESPN released its game-by-game predictions for the 2020 season, giving percentage chances of teams winning, and it predicts K-State to go 2-7 in the Big 12. Something I think is, very, very pessimistic on the Wildcats, beating just Kansas and Texas Tech. I think Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Texas are maybe the top tier, and those other two teams, KU and Tech. Tech, of course, above KU, are the bottom tier. And then there's 5 programs in the middle. The Big 12 is really packed and fat in the middle with teams that are trying to climb into that upper division. K-State, of course, finished 5-4 last season. I look for the Wildcats to do about the same, so I'm much more bullish on the Wildcats than ESPN is. But we don't even know exactly when the games will be played. The conference is working on the schedule. Gene Taylor indicates now we might see something this weekend, but it's also been indicated it might be a ways out. We're having a sale right now at GoPowercat.com all across the 24/7 Sports Network. 50% off an annual sub. Make sure you grab that. Don't miss out. Get the best team and recruiting coverage you will find covering Kansas State sports, period. End of story. I'm Fitz, and make sure when you do join, you head on over to GPC's Wabash Station our VIP exclusive members only chat message board about K-State sports. It's still the best place to meet people and talk about your Wildcats.